Hello people, I'm Jaby Koay, joined by Rosa Ochoa, and we're looking at Mumbai Diaries 2611 official teaser from Amazon Prime Video India. I have to explain something to you real quick before we do this reaction. First, for the audience, there are subtitles on this, but from what I understand, it's only for the English parts, which doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. So we probably will be a little bit lost during certain portions of this teaser, but it's only 55 seconds, so it can't be that bad, said no one. More importantly, I should tell you, 2611 is, in essence, India's version of September 11th.
Okay, that's what it's
they had a very, very dark day. What 2611 is for India is what September 11th is for us. That's the easiest way to put it.
It's very sad to hear.
Yeah, and so I don't know exactly what this teaser entails, but I would imagine it's serious and dealing with that.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll find out in a second.
उस रात ना कोई सो पाया ना कोई सोच पाया
आंखों में डर था और सोचने समझने के लिए वक्त नहीं
हर सेकंड भारी पड़ रहा था
फिर भी डटे रहे खड़े रहे
बॉडीज आना बंद नहीं हुई है
क्योंकि हर एक सांस बचानी थी
लेट्स गेट बैक टू वर्क
कभी ना खत्म होने वाली रात को
मिलकर खत्म किया
क्योंकि उस रात हम वहां थे.
It's interesting that it's a series. That's obviously going to be a limited run series. Before I jump in and start saying things, what did you get from that?
The Purge reminded me a little bit of The Purge.
Really?
I don't know.
How did you get The Purge?
I just felt like they were ready to go, and that's the vibe I actually got.
Wow. That is definitely not The Purge, but I mean, I'm sure some people got a chuckle out of that because it's the levity that you kind of need when you're watching that kind of thing. So it's definitely not The Purge. Sometimes when I talk about serious stuff, it can make me emotional, so I'm going to try to control myself as I talk about this. The idea is that during this horrible situation, there were lots of bodies coming in. And I think what this is focusing on is the frontline workers in the hospital who are dealing with all these bodies coming in and having to try to save people's lives and whatnot. That's what this is about. So it's not The Purge at all. It's more like doctors and nurses, from what I'm gathering, because again, the translation wasn't there. From what I'm gathering, it's dealing with those frontline workers who were having to take in all these bodies and deal with this horrific event. And I would imagine it's kind of like us focusing on, if you remember right after September 11th, when they had the Nicolas Cage movie. I think it was called World Trade Center. And it was dealing with, them trying to survive that event and sifting through the rubble and all that stuff. I guess we haven't really had a film that focused on the firefighters who were having to sift through the rubble and find all these things and whatnot. And I don't recall a story dealing with the hospital workers in New York on that day,
right,
or the days to follow. I don't remember seeing a story about that. So to me, this is actually quite interesting to focus on that angle, because I feel like up until recently, in the last year and a half, 2 years, we haven't really considered what hospital workers go through. We haven't really taken that into consideration until recently, when we started hearing about them having to work crazy ass shifts nonstop all day long, insane overtime because the hospitals are overrun. I would imagine it's kind of like that, where the hospital feels a little bit overrun and they're just trying to deal with this crazy event. It kind of touches on the actual event itself of the attack that happened, but it's not really about that. It's more about what's happening outside of that, from what I understand. And it's a series dealing with that. So I'm wondering, how long of a series could that possibly be? I don't know how long the attacks went on for, and I don't know if it's a real-time thing, like 24, where it's each hour is an actual hour of what was going on that day. I'm definitely curious about it.
Are those actual shots from the day?
No.
Okay.
No. This is all cinematic, I would imagine, but it is based on a very, very real tragic event. Throughout it, I just see, what looks like medical staff. I think this guy's like a doctor with that white coat right there. They're showing the heart rate monitor right here. She's obviously in a hospital there. They're paramedics, these doctors right here. So yeah, the apparent thing to me is focusing on the other heroes that were not acknowledged.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that's a very,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a very cool idea, because obviously we focus a lot on police officers, army, military. We focus on the firefighters, the people, the rescue workers, but we're not focusing on the people who are dealing with the aftermath of all that, which are the doctors and nurses.
Yeah.
It's
probably a lot of trauma for them to go through.
You can imagine how devastating that is. Every time you're just trying to save these people's lives, and it's one thing after another. Even though this is an event that happened a while ago, and it's not at all connected to the recent global events, it seems like it is relevant because we are putting more focus on that now, on like what those people have to go through and whatnot. It's intense. And I think that a lot of us take it for granted.
Yeah, our heroes.
Yeah.
Really, they really are.
This is definitely a story that's worth telling, and I hope it's done effectively and tastefully, and it's not sensationalizing at all. That's the easy place to go to, is to sensationalize what has been tragic for a lot of people. I hope it's just doing it tastefully and honoring these people who went through all this stuff. That's what you should do. What I would like to know is, for you guys in the audience, how hard is it to watch this kind of stuff? Because like for me, I watched the movie Zero Dark 30 only a few years after the events of September 11th. You know, it was just a few years after, or whenever it came out. I forgot, but it felt so close to what we were going through as Americans. That was an intense movie. It was so intense. I thought the theater was going to blow up. Like, I was having a hard time with that movie that it took me like 10, 11 years before I watched it again.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
like it was years before I watched Zero Dark 30 again, because it's such an intense film. It's hard to watch. There's just some very questionable things Americans did in order to get information. It was hard to watch. Even, what was it called? Flight 93? That movie came out just after the events of September 11th, and that was hard to watch. I was like, ugh.
Very heavy.
I was crying so hard after that movie, because it's just like, you know, I find that stuff that can be very painful to watch. And so I'd love to know from you guys, like, how you guys handle this stuff, because it's closer to you guys. I mean, just as a fellow human being, I can understand and empathize and feel that pain. It's obviously going to be different if it's from your own country.
Yeah.
You know, so
Your own people.
Yeah, your own people.
Even though, you know, we're all
one race.
one race.
Yeah.
One love.
Yeah, exactly. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out. That was a delight. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
Rosa Ochoa.
Peace out.